Kurt, welcome to the Leaders Lab.
And thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, we're just getting to know each other a little bit before we hit record. Kurt's been in technology for a long time. Kurt, can you give the audience a little bit on your background?
It seems like forever. 26 years. This year is 26 years. I started technology in 1998, which
Nice.
seems like a lifetime ago.
Were
Actually,
Blackberries out in
yeah.
1998?
Actually, what it was funny was before Blackberries. It was when you had the little the flip phone,
Oh, yeah, yeah, the Motorola's.
the phone, yeah, with the antenna, and
Yeah,
you flip the bottom part
yeah.
open, almost like Star Trek, right?
I had a Palm Pilot. I had the first phone Palm Pilot, which was, I don't know if you remember these, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm just remembering it now. They literally took a Palm Pilot. You remember the size of those? They were like probably 6 inches by 4 inches or something. It was almost like a small book. And all they did to make it a phone was put a flippy part on the bottom and an antenna on the top. You know what I mean? But it was just it was a Palm Pilot. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What's interesting is this is what happens when you start talking about it.
Yeah.
You're reminded of how far we've come
Oh yeah.
and how technology just rapidly changes, and how back then it was probably the most amazing technology we ever saw. And now what you realize is that was the worst
Yeah.
technology that you ever used in your life was at that point in time. I mean,
Right.
that's, not to be negative, but it was amazing then. But then you look back, you're like, well, whoa, what was that?
Yeah. It
It's
changes
so
so
funny what
much.
we used.
So what were
So
your
I, I
first, some of your first, yeah, some of your first experiences in technology?
so I started with AT&T in 1998, but I came from UPS
Okay.
and I didn't know anything about AT&T from a technology perspective. All I knew is it cost a lot of money to make a long distance phone call, which again it seems insane to ever think about that. But that's when it used to be. I was dating a girl that was going to school in Rochester. I think it was Geneseo, one of the state schools. And I remember my dad yelling at me saying, "It's a $250 bill. What is wrong with you?" Like, remember those days? Like, you'd
Oh yeah.
scream at you, or you'd have to take the corded phone and it stretches across the room. You're hiding in a bathroom to talk,
Yeah.
right? You see
Yeah.
those things on Instagram and TikTok. So that's all I knew about AT&T. I didn't know it did anything else. And an opportunity opened up. I was offered an opportunity to have an interview there. So I left UPS, which was all operations, and it was a very insane environment, pressure, fast-paced environment. And then I came into sales at AT&T, and what a 180 I did in terms of culture. I went from people screaming at you, you got to get the job done in 3 hours, what's wrong with you, cursing at you, and everything is just like so fast paced. So then I come into the corporate environment, everybody's sitting in their cubes doing their work, and I'm like, what's everybody doing? Come on, let's go do something. And
Yeah.
it was such a culture shock for me. And I think I was a culture shock for others as well. And that began my career in technology, was at AT&T, because then I realized, wait, they don't just do long distance phone calls. They're in data networks. They connect businesses all over the world with MPLS and frame relay, and then internet access. And that's when they started with we were selling to everybody websites. It was called, I can't remember what the product was called back then, but get a website, get an email address. And everybody at the time was saying, what do I need a website for? What do I need an email address for? This is ridiculous. It's just, I'm spending money that I don't need. And I remember at the time, I was working with a guy who actually is now a partner at a global consulting firm. We were saying to customers, like, what are you thinking? This is the future. You need an email address and you're going to need a website, because this is where business is going. And I remember customers saying to us, no, I'm not doing that. That doesn't make any sense. And that began my career in technology. And I spent the next 16 years at AT&T, and then I left and started my own companies.
Awesome. And what kind of companies, what caused you to leave the comfort of corporate after that many years? And then what kind of company did you start?
Okay, I'll be straight, because I think it's important too. I was in sales at AT&T. I was successful in sales, but the way it was structured, it's a little different in software sales. You hear in some sales environments where salespeople make an absolute fortune, and sky's the limit in terms of what you make. but the culture changed a lot and they forced you within a module with only a certain amount of accounts. And you lived and died by what you sold within those accounts. And I sold everything within those accounts. There was no products left from AT&T that I could sell within the accounts. And I was just maintaining them. So I hit a ceiling in terms of how much money I was making. And there was nothing else I was able to do in that sense. And I was very entrepreneurial in terms of how I thought. I wanted to do something. I was thinking about it for years, but it wasn't really the right time to
Right.
do it. I guess you get comfortability. Being comfortable is probably one of the worst things for anybody, to break out. If you're comfortable, you don't want to change.
Totally.
Everything's going well. You do the same things every day. But all of a sudden, when the comfort stops and you start feeling challenged, either monetarily or pressure within the business, or you hit a glass ceiling, you can't go any further. That's when people start thinking, maybe I should do something different. And that's when I chose that, I'm going to take a step. I'm going to go to the outside. And I went to go work for another company for about a year. It didn't work out. And I was like, what am I doing? Why don't I just do it myself? I already know this business. I've done it for so long. And that's when I started, my first company. It was called Vista Tech Solutions. And the business was, it was very interesting. The partner program at AT&T was, you sell for us as an independent contractor. You're allowed to work with all of our sales reps, and then we'll pay you upfront for everything you sell. And we'll do that because we don't pay for health benefits. We don't pay you a salary. We don't pay you 401k. We don't give you vacation. We don't pay anything. We just pay you if you sell a product and service. So to them, it's, why not pay you for something that it costs us nothing for you to acquire?
But I got to
And I
think
did
for
that.
you, but I got to think for you in a way, that's kind of a good thing anyway, because you just want to, it sounds like you are kind of a hunter and you're like, unlimited caps and money up front is not really a bad deal for someone like yourself, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because I view myself more as, it's interesting, the hunter farmer kind of question. So I was both. So when I was at AT&T, I had 5 global accounts assigned to me, massive, massive accounts. One of them, BlackRock, right? I mean, they're massive companies. My job was to find new business within them, but go, deep and wide within the accounts to form relationships with the CIOs, CTOs, et cetera. So yes, you had to be aggressive to get new business, but also you had to maintain the business with a relationship. So I basically fell within both models, hunter,
Right.
farmer. And I've always kept that. And I don't know how many people are hunters and farmers at the same time, but that's what I have to do running a business, right? You're hunting for new
Right.
business, but yet you're maintaining relationships. So since I'm able to provide and basically work within both rule sets, and also I started by working with very large businesses. So I understand large business management. It's easy for me to step down into smaller transactional methodologies because I already understand.
The big one. Yeah.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
one. I think it's easier like that.
Did you guys offer the same types of products and services that you
Yep.
were covering at AT&T? And so you,
Yeah,
okay. And so how does that lead into like where you are now in terms of,
sure.
because I, especially for personal reasons and because it's relevant, I guess, with what's going on, I definitely want to dive into your AI knowledge
Sure.
but how did that lead to, yeah, what products you guys are representing now? When did you get involved with AI? All of that.
Sure. So the interesting part of it is, even working at AT&T, you had to be a great salesperson. You have to have an understanding of the technology. You have to believe in the technology. You have to understand how it works. You don't have to know all the bits and bytes. There are some salespeople that are the technical salespeople that love that and want to be really deep in it and explain everything from an engineering standpoint to the sales standpoint. I fell within I understand it to a point. I utilize the resources that's what they're supposed to do, is understand the bits and bytes of technology. And I understood how to apply it to businesses and how to sell it because based on the value it's going to bring. So I say that because I have a thirst for knowledge. I want to understand why. It's interesting. I go back, my parents used to tell me one of the things that drove them crazy was I would always ask the question, why?
Mm-hmm.
And the first why was never good enough. I kept going down layers. Why? But why? Why?
Right.
Which, to a parent, it could eventually drive you crazy. But it's been right for me as I got older because I didn't just say, somebody didn't say this is how you do something. and I just took it at face value. I want to understand why, not to the point of driving somebody crazy. I just want to understand the methodology, the reasoning, why something's done, what's the benefit, what's the drawback. So with that, I understand technology, and I understood how to sell to my clients. I understood what the benefits were. I understood how it worked. And in doing that, clients would ask me, why should I do this? Why
Mm-hmm.
should I use this technology? Why should I implement this? What's the benefit to me? So I became more of a consultative salesperson selling.
Right.
And with that, the term digital transformation, that's been happening for years and years and years. Companies are always transforming how they do things. They did it with frame relay, they did it with MPLS, they did it with cell phones. Now the cell phones have increased productivity. They understand, want all the apps on the cell phones. They want to understand, how does this help my business become more productive, more functional, and has it helped me return revenue, right? Return on my investment. So with that, and being in my business, as clients asking me, I'm watching obviously how the trends or how technology is changing. So I'm always looking ahead in order to provide value to my clients. And what I saw was AI is the next phase of digital transformation with all the other areas of it. And then you look at what happened in November of 2022, ChatGPT took the world by storm.
Mm-hmm.
And it did that because of how it communicates. So the importance of it is it communicates to you as if you're a person. It's speaking to you as if it's a human. It has almost the human benefits to it, and that's done because of technology. So seeing that and already working with digital transformation with my customers, I said, "Wow, this is pretty amazing. This is where everything's going." And this is where my clients started asking me, what should we do on this side? What should we do with AI? It's confusing. There's so much happening so rapidly. What is your advice? How do you advise me on what to do next? So you could see now how I went from technology, expanding technology, clients asking me a lot of questions, to now wanting to be ahead of how things work and seeing what's happening in the future, to then the future happens in front of you and you naturally fall into helping your clients in that space.
Right. I think one of the things I've noticed a lot, I don't know why, it's probably sales tactic or something, but I feel like so many people that are talking about AI are, hey, if you're not doing AI right now, like it's past you by, like you're late to the game. There's almost like a fear tactic in getting involved in it, which I don't love that kind of approach, right? It's sort of like, for me, and I would say I am definitely technology leaning. I like technology. I am one of those guys that wants to know why as well. How does this work? I don't need to know the programming, of it, but if there's something out there that's going to make us more efficient or better or faster or reach more clients or do something for our customers in a better way, why wouldn't I want to look at that? Right. So I'm always kind of keeping my eyes peeled for things like that. Um, and I think our approach, at least, so the main company of the Leaders Lab, we're a talent acquisition company, right? We focus on putting candidates, leadership candidates in with companies. And I just started looking at, like, once I started playing around with ChatGPT, and it's funny, I was just showing it to my brother-in-law like last week for the first time. He hadn't really seen it. He was just blown away. He was writing a speech for his son's wedding and needed some help. Wanted it to be his words, which it still can be, right? But also wanted some of the filler stuff to be, the way a formal thing would be structured. I did the same thing with his son. I'm the officiant, so I got on Zoom, had him and his fiance on Zoom, had Chat GPT up in a shared window, and was able to go through a series. I've married a few people, and so I had an outline of a ceremony. It was like, do you want this to be religious or non-religious? Non-religious. Okay. So we won't do a Bible verse here. We'll do a poem. Okay. Let's ask Chat GPT, what are some common poems about love or that are commonly used, and spit out 5 poems. And then she picks one of those. And, on the business front, it's, um, I'm not the best writer in the world, so how can I create a 3-stage messaging campaign for leadership candidates in the New Jersey area or whatever, right? And so I would say I'm still a layman, but starting to lean into looking at, in the same way that you would delegate stuff to an employee that is I don't want to say beneath your pay grade, but I'm just saying different people do different things in a company, right? And you're a CEO of a company, of a couple of companies. And a lot of times you go, do I have to do this? I mean, almost everything that comes to me, I'm like, do I have to do this or can someone else do this? And then eventually it's, does someone have to do this at all? Or can AI do it for us, right? Can AI write these emails? Can AI look up these clients? Can AI find these email addresses or whatever? Am I looking at it in the right way in terms of a
Absolutely.
small business owner?
Absolutely. So, I mean, you said it right. It's how to start working with it, how to find out how it's going to work for you. How do you prompt it? How do you get the response that you want to get? If you don't like the first response, how do you prompt it now to get something a little more clear? How do you, drill down to get the messaging exactly the way you want it? That's 100% the way it should be done. And that's 100% the way that small businesses should do it. I
Yeah,
mean, if you think back to the internet, remember when they said the internet was going to be the great equalizer in terms of marketing,
yeah,
Facebook, Instagram, all that, because back in the day, right? 98 and stuff like that, you had to have a huge budget to pay a marketing agency to get your message out to everybody, TV ads, magazines. It was enormous amounts of money.
sure,
And then when the internet came along, they were sitting there saying, like, this is the great leveling for playing fields for all businesses out there. Then we had to run Facebook ads. This is how you get your business out in the forefront. So you could take a small business, make it look enormous. And how many businesses grew from little businesses to massive companies because of the internet?
right,
AI is now doing the same thing. So it is wearing a lot of hats. It does provide a small business that marketing, that CMO type of um, of role, and it's going to get you a little bit further and much faster than if you were to do it yourself. Because otherwise, you have to go search on Google. You have to go hire somebody
right.
that's been there already to show you how to do it. So, 100%, that's the best starting point for any small business.
I have some thoughts on this that I'll share in a second, but I wanted to ask you what ways are companies misusing AI? And I'm not talking about for like bad intentions like fraud or anything like that. I'm just talking about a normal company with good intentions using AI in a sloppy or bad way. What are some ways that you see there? Because what I've noticed, I'm sorry, I want to get it from you first, and I'll tell you some of my thoughts on it.
It's interesting. Everybody's different.
Yeah,
Here's the one mistake that a company would make. And by the way, it's universal. You hear me constantly go back to, hey, look in the past. It's funny that whole saying of you fail to learn the past, right? You're doomed to repeat, the mistakes again, right? How many companies have purchased the newest software, the newest equipment, the newest technology? We got to get it because it's going to work. They buy it and then they put it on the shelf because the people don't understand how to use it. It doesn't work with their architecture. They find that they have to go change a bunch of things and spend more money in order to integrate it within their
right,
company. And it's the same with AI. You can go out right now. You can go buy a ChatGPT Plus for your entire company at $20 a piece. You can go get ChatGPT Teams or Enterprise, $30, whatever it is, plus, wherever it could be. Enterprise could be a lot more. You can go Microsoft Copilot licenses, integrate that all within your business. And the problem still is the same. Unless you're teaching your people how to use it, unless you're training them and educating them on the AI rules, regulations, and what you expect, how the appropriate ways for them to use it, or how the appropriate ways for them to use it to get their job or to be more productive within their roles, they're going to fail. And
right,
what people are going to say then, and what they have said is, I don't understand. This doesn't work. The way I was doing it was much faster. It
right,
was easier because I already understood how to do it. So that's the biggest challenge. That's the way they make a mistake, because then with that comes bias.
right.
With that one comes hallucinations. With that becomes you do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing, write the wrong thing. Then it can be detrimental to your business, just like what happened with Google Gemini a couple of weeks ago.
Right. Didn't have the buy-in, sloppy launch. No, what I've found, and not just for AI, but I think with anything new that you're doing, because as people, like we're a lot of people are wired to not really appreciate change. So number one,
Yes.
what we try to do within our company, we talk about it all the time, is we're in constant beta mode. You better just get used to it, to a point where, almost if there's no change, you get uncomfortable because you're like, well, we're not innovating, we're not doing what. So part of it, I think, is culturally setting that expectation. I think the other thing is you've always got your early adapters. So even if you're in a culture of growth, you've got your leaders within that culture, right? That you come up with a new idea. They're the ones that are going to test it. They're the ones that are going to take the ball and run with it. And they're the ones that I sometimes call them the shop stewards from back in the union days, right? The shop steward is the peer that's going to sell it to everybody else, right? And so I found that getting core members of our team involved in anything that we're doing, buying them the one-off $20 a month subscription or whatever, and letting them play with it so that they go, it's cool. And everyone goes, oh, Nicole says it's cool. It must be cool. You know what I mean? So there's been a decent amount of that. When I was talking about the sloppiness of it, I feel like people sometimes, chat GPT, any AI tool is only as good, I think, as what you put into it. And it doesn't solve. Pushing a button with it by itself is a big mistake. And I see so many people doing it in the emails that I'm getting, where they'll tell chat GPT, email this guy, find one thing from his LinkedIn profile, because then it'll be personalized, right? And send it to him. So I'll get something that says, hey, Ken, as owner of the Leaders Lab, I'm sure you're interested in, and then there'll be a topic that isn't even relevant for our business. And followed by no logo, no booking link, no anything, right? Just these shitty emails that we're all getting all the time now. And I feel like almost emailing them back and going, if anyone's reading this, this is just a really bad use of AI. AI could make an email to me that looks completely customizable because you took the time and the care, and all AI did was assist you in finding the fill in the blanks thing. No different than my brother-in-law doing a speech for my nephew's wedding,
Yep.
where it's still his words. It's
Yep.
still, and nobody cares that you use a tool to help you get there, right? Nobody cares as long as the outcome is the same and the meaning is the same. But it's really sloppy when it's just like, okay, I get that some bot figured out that I own the Leaders Lab and that I'm the president of the Leaders Lab. It's not hard to scrape that, right? Um,
It's
but
silly.
and yeah, and I just feel like do better. Like when I see that, I'm like, just do better. Like this is a terrible email, with or
If you,
without AI.
if you can't drive a car and you go and get into a Lamborghini and step on the gas and try to, take it to its limits, you're going to kill yourself.
Right.
So it's the same thing with AI. It's especially with ChatGPT. There's tricks where you go into the profile itself and you can actually build your profile of who you are, what your voice is, etc. You could prompt it like with your brother-in-law's example. He can write what he likes and say, "Here's my voice. I want
Yes.
you to write it in my voice, but make edits to etc." Blah blah blah. And those emails, I get them all the time as well. And so you can't use AI as the next tool and say that's the panacea. It's a magic wand. Everybody's going to
Right.
buy everything because I use it. It all comes back to the prompting and what are you trying to do? What are you crafting? And from the email perspective, I see them all the time too. They're not offering me anything.
Right.
They're just taking out some piece of, hey, I like that. I think you have great activity on LinkedIn. Well, if that's the case, how come you haven't participated in liking anything or joined my conversation or made a contribution in make an intelligent a comment on there?
Right.
You'd get much more from me if you said something that was intelligent and followed me for a while, didn't ask me for anything. So it's interesting. The rules of how you reach out to people haven't changed. People still expect you to give before you ever ask to receive in the end. So
Yeah.
if you're writing an email, it should be something that's offering value to them,
Yes.
something they didn't know, right? And that's AI is not going to fix that unless you prompt it to do so.
No, and you got to have the right mindset and the right culture around your company so that your employees are carrying that out. And I think the other part is that, you know, I I think not only do you have to offer something, but I think because everyone's on the alert for bullshit, that our senses are heightened to bullshit, but also really appreciative of real outreach that means something or offers something, right? So I think if you, as an opportunity, I think if you nail it, the response rate is actually high because people, because we'll send like direct videos so they know we're talking to them, you know,
Yep.
like, hey, Kurt, it's me, Ken. Yes, I'm not a bot. I'm on your profile. What's going on, man? I got a job I think you might be interested in.
Yep.
And a response from people on something like that is sky high because they're like, oh my God, finally. Like, you don't know how many people I just deleted to,
Yes.
or disconnected with because of this kind of stuff. And so even when they don't want to talk about the thing we reached out to them about, a lot of times you'll get a message back going like, cool message. Thanks for the outreach. Definitely keep it in mind for later, which to me is that's a win in and of itself, even if we don't do business right then.
Yeah. And so authenticity wins all the time.
Yep.
And if you look at what happened earlier on in the beginning, January, February, you put stuff into ChatGPT to write your messages on LinkedIn or marketing, whatever it is, and because it had a million emojis in there,
Right.
which I mean, LinkedIn was like put them in there. That was the methodology back in like March timeframe. It was put that stuff in there, make it all flashy and stuff. It gets people's attention. But AI just completely changed that. You can even today you can figure out who's using AI. You just read it and you're like, wow, that's AI still. So the authenticity has to be there because everybody's trying to, like you said, everybody's trying to figure out who are you? Are you real? Are you trustworthy? Like on LinkedIn now, you have the check mark. Like, is it really you?
Yeah. It's now there's a verification now
Yeah.
on LinkedIn. Yeah.
I get these messages constantly, but you probably do as well. Hey, I'd like to talk to you. I like your profile. Here's my WhatsApp number. Contact me. It's like,
Yeah.
what? Or it's, oh, my company wants to start a new office in the US. Love to, share your contact information with me. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have one follower, or you're looking at it, it's like they work at McKinsey, but yet there's no history there. And they have like 3 followers.
Yeah.
It, it's insane. But look, AI is just a tool right now. It can seriously launch your business into the stratosphere in terms of how you use it. It can be 15, 20 people within your company. And funny, I put a post up last week saying I won't be too surprised when there's $1 billion company that's run by 1, 2, 3 people with AI, and it
Sure.
becomes a unicorn. And it's going to
Sure.
shock the business world when it happens. And it's coming. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. I mean, we're working on something right now on the recruitment side that when we're looking at profiles, so I could take, and I just started playing with this last week, but connected a bunch of software together through one platform-based software and was able to pull candidates in that we found that we did want to talk to, that we found from a
Yep.
search on LinkedIn, put them into basically a table. Within the table, I enriched their profiles through LinkedIn. Then I told ChatGPT, I said, okay, rate these candidates. That's all I said. It did a terrible job because all I said was rate these
Where's
candidates.
Ken's? Yeah.
Then I went back in and I said, rate these candidates on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. Give them extra points for things like having a bachelor's degree, mentioning that they manage people directly, give them extra points for, and again, I'm paraphrasing here, but
Yep.
gave it a more clear command than what I'm telling you now. But if their longevity in their current job is 3+ years, da 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 da, and then do it. And it still needs to be refined, but that next step that I did, it was pretty good. It was pretty
Yep.
good. I mean, it was almost like there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have a person right now that I pay full time just to approve all of our candidates that we're sourcing.
Yep.
And I know a lot of people go, oh, it's going to replace jobs. In our company, that's just going to give her freedom to do something other than that. So
Yes.
I think there's so many wins here. I wanted to ask, so I feel like technology in general it's always evolving, right? It's always, I think that's what I like about it. It's like you said, I mean, going back to our Palm Pilot phones and our flip phones and all that and the Blackberries. And then now we have this stuff, and we'll probably be laughing about it. Remember when we thought Chat GPT was the bomb, and like now all you have to do is think about something? Is so how do you stay on top of this stuff? Like, what do you do for kind of self-improvement and all of that within your career?
And look, it's a great question. So when I say there's not one person in this world that knows everything, I mean,
Right.
there might be somebody that thinks they know everything, but
Right.
they don't. And the greatest value that we have is our social nature, humans, right? And this having a conversation. I'm going to pick up things from you. You're going to pick up things from me. We are the great AI, right? We're sharing information, putting it into our databases, and then we go from there. And I say that as a foundation to my next comment is we're constantly learning from others.
Right.
The people that do things at Meta, yes, some of them are building what they're building within their little cave, right, of building something. But then they're seeing what's happening at IBM. They're seeing what's happening with, XAI, Grok with Elon. They see what's happening with OpenAI, Sora. Everybody's seeing what's happening with everybody. No different than when the iPhone came out and then Samsung saw everything. And all of a sudden, everything became touch, right?
Yeah.
Because they developed it. So we're all giving each other ideas. So to answer your question, I'm very much into LinkedIn and listening to what a lot of people say in the fields because there's tons of people that are on LinkedIn. You can find out who knows what they're talking about and who doesn't. People are sharing information all over the place. You can get very, bits and bytes of information, and you can dive deeper if you'd like. I have MIT, magazines. I've done several courses at MIT as well. So I get their magazine as well. I'm reading through that. I'm reading things on the internet, things that I'm being prompted by Google alerts. I'm being prompted by AI sites as well of here's the next information that's coming up. I'm following the people on LinkedIn that just all they do is put up the latest and greatest insights about AI, which is important to know what they're saying. And then another person is going to say something a little different. Another person is going to say something different. So it's interesting. I'm almost like a net coming off a trawler of a ship in the water and just trying to scoop up as much information as I possibly can.
Right.
And then from there, I'm filtering out what matters, what doesn't. And I'm also trying to stay ahead of what's happening next. What's coming? What are the pieces of what people are saying and what makes sense as to what's going to happen next?
Right.
Because that's what happens all around us. You can figure out what's coming next. Like ChatGPT 5 is coming soon. I would
Sure.
not be surprised if it doesn't come out in April because of the things that Sam Altman's saying, because of the little breadcrumbs they leave along the way. And this is moving so quickly that even though I said all that, people I actually communicate with on LinkedIn, we're all doing the same thing. We're even getting caught off guard
Right.
with the amount of innovation that's taking place. And if I'm in this every day and it catches me off guard at times in terms of the innovations,
Right.
1 minute they're doing this, next minute's announcement, we could do this. And then, I mean, unless you're working for the company, you don't know what's coming until it comes.
Right.
So even we're trying to keep up. I can only imagine how tough it is for businesses, for CEOs running businesses that have to focus on where their company's going, what's happening next in their industry. And oh, by the way, they have to be afraid of what their competitors are going to do with AI that may pass them. And that
Right.
comes back to your beginning, the fear of missing out, the fear factor. Look, you shouldn't be fearful of it. The more you learn about it, the better equipped you're going to be. But that is something to kind of pay attention to is if this is moving so rapidly for somebody like us and what we're doing, just think what it's like for people that aren't following it. So I'm reading LinkedIn, I'm reading magazines, I'm reading websites, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to interviews. I'm constantly plugged in. So the question you asked, do I watch TV? Not rarely.
Right.
Uh, what am I doing all day? It's, you're flipping back and forth between the things you have to do and then what's the next announcement that's coming up. That's probably the best way. That's the best way I find to stay on top of it is you have to stay plugged in every day. Otherwise, you're going to miss something.
But it also seems like you've got this, nature about yourself where you're passionately curious.
Yes.
So it's not like it's a chore. It's like, cool, what's coming out next? Hey, where's this? Where's this? And I think business owners need to be passionately curious or have people on their team that are passionately curious that you can then bring into the organization, right? That are out there figuring it out. And I think for smaller businesses, it was funny because you were talking about like when you were trying to sell like websites to people in 98 or whatever. And they're like, oh, that's not going to stick around. What's this? Why do I need to do this? Why do I need to spend money? I remember back then I had one of those AOL accounts that you could hear connecting, through your landline, and then you've got mail and all that. And here's the thing, it's not going away. So I think the best question you can ask yourself as a small business owner is, if it's not going away, let me learn the foundations of ChatGPT, which everyone thinks it's so complicated, which it is as a technology. But in terms of figuring out how it can help you, super simple. It's just like, what are some things that we're doing now that I can get help with. Our clients, as an example, a lot of times I'll meet with a client, take on a job. Let's say it's for a chief marketing officer, as an example, and I do an intake with them. We're extremely thorough and tell me what you want and what's going on the team and how many people do they have to manage and what's the size of your organization and do you need them in the office or can they be remote or is it a hybrid and everything else. And they're like, okay, I know what your job is. Do you have a job description written yet? Oh no, we still got to do that. I'm like, just give me like 5 minutes, like literally. And I can go over, and again,
Yep.
with enough customization, because I'm going to take, I don't just say, hey, chat GPT, write a CMO job description, because that's going to be generic, just like the crappy email. But if I say, write a CMO job description for a company called, Ken's whatever,
Yep.
it's a chief marketing officer. It's based in Phoenix, Arizona. They would like you to be in the office or at least live in Phoenix, but they are open if you've got enough experience to being outside. You're going to manage a team of 50 people that includes 5 leaders and 45 associates and this and that. And we prefer a master's in marketing, but we'll take a business and da 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 da. And it'll spit the whole thing out. And if I don't like it, I'll just say, shorten this part a little bit, cut this part out, do it a little more formal, a little less formal. And it'll literally, if you sign up for a chat GPT account this second, you could do that yourself. Exactly what I just said in the next 5 minutes, right? I think people think there's always a fear when something's new that the ramp up to learning. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. I'm already busy. I don't have time to go learn this. And I'm like, to do some of the basics in chat GPT, and it doesn't take much. It's pretty intuitive, I feel.
Yes. So the point you bring up is you like technology, and
Yeah.
there's others out there that they may like it. Look, there's some business owners that like it but are afraid of it because they don't know how it works. Maybe they're afraid of it. Maybe they're just too busy doing everything else,
Right.
and they have to give it to somebody else. So what I say all the time is to get out of that fear of missing out or people making you feel like you're going to be out of business tomorrow if you don't do it today. Um, is to start educating yourself on AI. And there's a lot of free courses out there. You don't have to pay for a lot to learn about it.
Right.
So education is also the great equalizer, right? Knowledge is power. That's said for a reason. If you educate yourself on what it is and how it works, it clears away any of the misconceptions or the concerns about what it is, the concerns about I'm going to lose my job, the concerns
Right.
about I don't want to do this in my business now. It's my customers don't want that. Whatever thought a company has as to why they should not use it, I suggest they start looking at it because all your clients are going to be expecting that you're going to offer that in some way, shape, or form if you're selling them a service.
Right.
They're going to expect a response quickly. They're going to expect if they come work for you, you're going to have those tools available to them. This is what's happening now. Companies, I think like 41% of the companies out there are hiring people that have some understanding of AI because that's where it's going.
Right.
So fear of missing out, like I understand that comment. I like the one that Mark Randolph said from Netflix. If you are unwilling to disrupt your business, your competitors will be willing to disrupt it for you.
That's a good line. Yeah.
And it doesn't, so you can just clear away anything else, any other thing that people want to make you fearful of. That is the truth. Your competitors are out there, like you said, they're working with it. They're trying to figure out how to prompt it. They're getting great responses. Their productivity is going up. Their people are learning it. They're understanding how to use it within the business. And what you can do is you can just go faster with
Right.
less people or not have to hire more people, go faster, farther, and quicker. And that's what outpaces your competition. So if
Absolutely.
nothing else, you need to learn it
I
because
agree.
we're all going to do it. Everybody's going to be using it, and you're going to be one that's not using it, and you're going to wonder why your business starts falling off. And that's unfortunate. By that point in time, how do you catch up?
Yeah. You'll be late. You'll be late for sure. And one thing that, you know, uh, and that's where I was going with it's here like the internet was here to stay in 98. It's here to stay. So I think even the first question you can just ask is, what are some of the things that we're doing now that AI might be able to help us with, right? At its simplest level. And I want to learn more in our last few minutes here about what you do, because I know you consult with companies on this. So are you coming in helping them develop their AI strategy? Like, I want to know a little bit more about like how your
Sure.
service works.
So there's a couple of ways that companies can do it. Companies can just go out, like we said earlier, you can just go buy licenses, go get Copilot, go purchase all the licenses. you can go ChatGPT, start playing with that. You can go to Anthropic, U.com, Pi. I mean, they're everywhere. It's everywhere. From a user, you can go out and start using it. But now you want to start integrating within your business. You need somebody that's able to help you. So we work with small and middle-sized companies, not the enterprise. Enterprise has entire staffs. They, bring on
Yeah.
AI, data scientists, et cetera. It's not the area we play in. Now, if an enterprise came to me and said, I want your services and support, happy to do so. Our folks have, tons of experience. But for small middle market clients, I see that being an area where they need the most support because you don't necessarily have the budget to start bringing in folks to just do that.
Right.
And you're not even sure where to begin. So what we offer is, Mr. Client, you can go out and go buy all these licenses, but you have to have a strategy. You have to understand what is it that you're doing. If you're just going to get a bunch of licenses and hand it out to people and say, start doing things, well, you're going to find yourself in a position of, go back to Gemini. You have people that don't understand the governance. They don't understand the rules of AI. They don't understand how to craft things. They don't understand how to prompt it. They're going to get themselves in trouble in terms of what they do. It's driving a fast car and not without any training, you're going to get yourself in trouble. So start with the strategy first. What do you want to do in your business? And I'll give you an example. And I've used this many times as well, but it works because most people understand it. Amazon's business is purely about servicing their end client. That's all they care about. If you get a delivery, it comes to your house and there's something wrong with it, you call Amazon, they're going to refund you or they're going to replace it. No questions asked. That's their policy.
Right.
So they've been rolling out AI for years. And one they just announced, the president announced a couple months ago, was they're using AI now in cameras to watch packages as they come off the line to, they get put on trucks. And they're seeing what the condition of the package is. And you're like, great, what does that mean? Well, if the strategy of Amazon is to make sure the customer experience is always amazing, so they continue to keep ordering from Amazon, they want to make sure that package looks amazing when it comes off the belt. So then when it arrives at the customer's location, the customer is happy receiving it. They have
Sure.
good feelings, not bad feelings. Remember the FedEx commercials where, they pick it up and they had the person like slamming it, or they had the
Yeah.
UPS ones were not wearing UPS, but they were kicking the box all over the
Yeah.
place. And they're like, oh, it's, people used to joke about that for a reason. Amazon wants to make sure you have a great customer experience from the time you receive the package to the experience of you got what you want. It's not broken. That is their strategy. They use AI to further their strategy, make sure the box looks good. And that's just one of many things they're doing. So in your business, whatever business you have, first you have to understand, what is your strategy? Why would you be utilizing AI? What is the purpose of it? What's your goal? If you want to look at it first about cost savings, right? Because you want to get a couple of wins. You want to make sure, okay, I got a win here. I saved some money. I got my return on investment. This makes sense. That's smart. Use it for writing emails. Use it for doing marketing. You can eliminate a marketing agency from that if you want to, or you can slim down the offers you're getting, but you start utilizing it there to get some cost savings. If it's something in terms of booking things or your I don't know, logistics, and you want to use some AI tools in order to do that, you can do that. So you can get some quick wins there. But where we come in is the strategy of, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? And how can it be done? Can it be done with just a ChatGPT license? Or do we need to, invent, what is it that you're trying to do? What are you trying to put in place? What do you want to achieve? How much time you want to achieve it in? And we'll roadmap out what that is for the client and help them actually implement it to get the end state. So
Right.
it's just the one next level. If they say, look, we just want to roll out Microsoft Copilot, we need some assistance with that, our teams can help them how to do it, integrate Copilot into their systems. There's certain things you have to do in Copilot. You just don't turn it on.
Right.
It has to find your data. You have to make sure your data is the right data is being fed into the tool. You don't want to feed in proprietary data or HR data or, paychecks or,
Right.
credit cards or licenses. So there is some prompting you have to do that, depending upon the size of the company, Microsoft's not going to do it for you. They're going to push it out to their smaller companies to support them.
But a
So
lot
we'll
of
help
time,
companies with that.
but a lot of times for you guys, it sounds like you'll go in and say, what do they know the basics or have been playing around with chat GPT or whatever. It's more like, okay, what's the North Star for this company? Oh, we're trying to grow it from 20 million to 400 million. And you guys have to go in and go, okay, let's assess this business. What do you offer? What are you doing? What are your systems? How are they all put in there? And then where does AI fit into not just a, oh, I'm going to create a job description, but we're now going to have like all these different AI stops connected with our systems at different places along the way to get to that outcome, which is
Right.
that's tricky business. Like you're not going to figure that out by buying a chat GPT license and figuring out a wedding ceremony, like I was just
That's
saying.
correct. That's most companies buy it. They're unsuccessful in what they were trying to do
Yeah.
because they didn't have a strategy, they didn't have a plan, and it didn't work. So that's why we start with the AI strategy and readiness assessment. Are you even ready for AI? Do you even need AI to solve the problem that you're trying to solve, or you're
Right.
trying to get there? There might be another way to do it, and you don't need AI for that. AI is important in a business with a company that has a tremendous amount of information, and you need to corral that information and provide insights quickly. That's what AI is for, and that's where it's going to provide the most benefits. If it's like I'm a company and I don't understand my financials, you can go out and buy Microsoft Power BI
Right.
and integrate that in your businesses and provide that aspect of it. So you have to understand your strategy. Why are you looking to do it? What's it going to do for your business? Where's it going to take you in the next couple of years? Then you assess it and you lay out the roadmap, and then you can implement it in time. And that's what we do. We want to bring some understanding and some just slow things down a little bit on the AI side. Don't feel like you're too far behind just yet. Let us show you where you are with an assessment, and then we'll get you there in whatever time frame it takes, depending upon what you're looking to do. And you can do it in phases.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and that's what I meant about earlier, where I didn't like the fear thing more because I like the attraction thing. Like, there's just all these benefits. So, like, I want to see people do it because there's so many wins for them in it. There's so many things that they can do for most companies, like short term, that it's like this low hanging fruit that's just sitting there, right? And it's like all you got to do is go pick it. And that to me, I mean, I think people should be attracted to it, right? Not scared, like I got to do it, But I love that. I love what you're saying there. So, anything else for our audience? I can't believe we've whipped through the majority of an hour already, but we have. So, anything else for
So,
our audience before we
yeah,
go?
the analogies are the greatest for reflecting back on things. When the cell phones came out, how many people were saying, "I don't need a cell phone. I, I
Yeah,
just I just use my office phone. I
yeah,
don't want them knowing where I am, right?
yeah,
I don't want to answer calls when I'm on the
yeah,
train. I don't
yeah,
want people to find me all the time." And then the smartphones came out. Everybody's like, "I don't want to," or the BlackBerry, right? And you say, "Oh man, now they're out in the street. Everybody's with the BlackBerries." And how many people were like, "No, I don't need that." And how many people said, "I'll stay with the flip phone. I don't need a smartphone." But eventually, they realized that there was nothing they can do. You can't fight it. You
right,
have to embrace it. And then you had to use it properly within your business in order to get the best from your business and increase productivity within your workforce and be able to respond to your clients. AI is going to be exactly the same way. So if you're not doing it now, you are falling behind if your competition is doing it. That's
mm-hmm.
the key. I don't know if your competition is doing it or not, but if your competition, your largest competitor, is rolling out AI and they're providing a product and service much faster than you are to their end client, and the end client likes that, everybody else is going to go to them, and you're going to be wondering why. So that's not fear. That's just looking back in history.
Right.
Eventually, you embrace the technology when it makes sense. Or like you said, start educating yourselves on AI. There's so many free courses out there, or just get ChatGPT, like you said. Start playing around with it. There's plenty of people. If they reach out to me, I'll give them PDF prompt sheets that have been done by people on LinkedIn that will help you and how to structure it. You start getting used to it. And then from there, it's not scary. And then you start thinking, wow, maybe I can use it for this. Maybe I can use it for that. Maybe I can do it here. And that's when you really become innovative in your business. And that's when you really differentiate yourself from anybody else that's using AI. Because like Microsoft Copilot, everybody's going to start using Microsoft Copilot now.
Right.
So what differentiates you from anybody else? It writes emails, it responds, it does the PowerPoint presentations, it'll do your Excel. But what separates you from everybody else that's doing the same? And that's where you have to be creative and be proprietary in terms of what you're offering. And that's the next step.
That's really cool. It's funny. When you said by getting into chat GPT or one of these other tools that you can prompt, that is exactly what my journey was, is that it then it's like, if I can do this on my own, right? It got me thinking about all of our process oriented stuff. The other day, connected my Canva account to my chat GPT 4 account, And then I
Wow.
just said, create a 10 slide presentation on what the heck was it? It was something stupid. I just want to see if it could do it. And it did it. Like it created a 10 slide and it needed work, right? And obviously I would need to go back in there if I was going to use it. I would need to go back in and fix the pictures and put my logo on it. But oh my God, it did it. You know what I mean? And if I would have given it a better prompt, or if I would have had a template, I could have said something like, hey, use the Leaders Lab template to create a 10 slide thing on the top 7 reasons that people are leaving their jobs and reference this article, right? And it
Yep.
could do it. And I don't got to
Yep.
write that now. It's amazing. So,
And so where it's going from Copilot, and even now Gemini was Bard, now it's Gemini for Google. So all the Google users, for $30 a month, you could turn that on. And what you're saying too, you could take notes from a meeting, or you could take notes from this podcast. You could take the written out one. You could drop it into Microsoft PowerPoint and say, AI, create me a PowerPoint based on this podcast or a meeting you were at. Provide me slides, 10 slides on this, and then you get to choose graphics and all that, and it'll
yeah,
create you a PowerPoint presentation like that. So
amazing.
it's changing. So if you're thinking as a business right now, I can wait. Well, that's what your competitors are doing. They're going to roll out presentations. They're going to have emails that are responding to their customers much faster. They're going to create little agents or AI agents or little chatbots that, which is great in a situation where if you're trying to fix a microwave or you clean your washing machine or something like that, you go to their site, use their chat GPT, which pulls from all the documents
Yeah,
and
it's
says,
on their
here's
owner's
how you
manual.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the steps. I'd be like, wow, that's great. Instead of me going to Google, looking for the blue link, looking for the manual, reading through the entire thing, trying to find the area. That's what it's great for as well. So what would be the benefit to your business? For instance, IKEA removed 8,500 people from a call center and trained them as the floor people to help with the interior designers, and they increased their revenues by $1 billion.
Whoa.
And Klarna, Klarna, which is a payment company for retails, et cetera, and buying things, they just did the same thing. They saved like $40 million by rolling out AI within their business because they eliminated call center employees, et cetera. So you're starting now to see the use cases in some of these companies that are providing value and returns on investment and allowing them to move people from one segment of the business to another segment of the business. The question is finding that use case that matters to you as a company and not trying to go too fast and too far because it's a proverbial getting out in front of your skis and then you fall down. You want to start on something that you can actually handle. Don't bite off more than you can chew, right? All these different,
Right. Right.
colloquialisms, right? But that's the key. There's a lot out there, and this is the time to begin. And if they're listening to this, they're
Yeah, they're
already ahead of the
beginning.
game.
Yeah, they're
Yep.
starting. So that's
Yep.
cool. Well, thank you so much. I could nerd out with you on this stuff for like hours, but thanks for spending an hour with us. I appreciate it, Kurt. And it was good to meet you. Everybody else, please like and rate the show on Apple and Spotify. And we'll see you next week in the Leaders Lab.